Hi ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Voice of Scotland sessions here at Reinforcement HQ. We're trying out a brand new style today. We are doing it with bands. So I'd like to welcome to this first session, Blackfyre Rising. Hey guys, how you doing?
Hey man.
Awesome, yeah.
I'm so glad you guys could make it out and join us for the first session.
Yeah.
Pleasure.
Pleasure. Man.
It's an honour, really.
Except Dave, no one likes Dave.
Yeah, thanks for pointing that out.
Oh sorry, is that better?
What?
Nothing. No, it's great to have the guys down on the show. We've spent a bit of time together, getting a bit know each other, get personal, friendly. For
This
people.
doesn't sound weird.
Weirder.
So guys, just for everyone back at home, can we just get a rundown names and what you play?
Yeah, so I'm James, I'm lead vocals and play guitar.
Dave, my guitars and backing vocals.
Ryan, I'm the bass player.
I'm Tom, I'm the drummer.
Well, thank you so much for coming in, guys. I really appreciate it being part of the first of the new shows and how we're going to be putting this together, hopefully in the future. Let's get a wee bit of information about you guys. So, how long have you guys been together for?
Roughly about 6 months or so.
How this all started, really, this is kind of the Tom Parker project. I remember meeting Tom at open mic in Banshee in Edinburgh a couple of years ago, and didn't know the guy. Just came up, we kind of started chatting. We were talking about like doing a lot of things, just like me, him, and getting in a bass player. And then I got a message on Facebook from Tom a few months later, just saying, "Hey man, like I'm thinking of putting something together. I've got a guitar player in mind, and I think kind of Tom can maybe take it from there."
Yeah, I've played in a project with Dave previously, so I already knew his playing ability, writing ability. And again, I met James at open mic, heard his singing voice, saw what he could do on guitar, was really impressed and thought I really want to work with these two together. And I knew Ryan from being at uni with him for, 3 years?
Yeah.
He was our main bass player at college. 3 So again, knew his ability and I thought it's a good combination, let's try and make something of it, basically.
So, what kind of genre or style would you describe yourself as?
I think I started from blues rock stuff, so I was playing in a blues rock cover band since I was about 13, 14. Harder bands like Decipher Dan, they're a really big influence on me.
Yeah, I mean, most of my background is similar. Blues rock, mostly classic rock. But then, I guess, a lot of my emphasis recently have been more from like the metal side of things, kind of prog metal. But still heavily rooted in the classic rock, and partly post-rock as well, so a lot of use of effects, delay, reverb to create soundscapes, so it's kind of an amalgamation of all that really.
Yeah, that's really cool.
My background's a bit more complicated. I started off mainly with Metallica, metal, hard rock.
As the t-shirt says.
Yeah, exactly. Representing. But being in uni with Tom, I had to play everything. So, jazz, funk, I'm into all that stuff.
So how would you find that? Because obviously, you've got your own influences, you do it. How do you feel if you've done it through the college and you've done that? I mean, quite a few musicians that listen in are doing that same kind of thing. How do you feel when you're playing a style that's maybe not your favourite? Because I mean, like, to put more an example, I mean, obviously, if someone didn't like, let's just say rock, for example, but they're having to do it for the coursework and such. I mean, do you take it as it's a burden, I need to get through it, or do you try and find a way to get an influence in there or something that you can add to the character of it to make it your own?
It definitely feels like a burden to start with. I'm not going to lie. The first couple of years, it sucks.
So we're looking for a new bass player.
But you've just got to find something that just grabs you in every genre, and it really helps. Whatever genre you're playing, you can pull stuff from other genres, and it just makes you a better player.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
Yeah, and the contributions that this guy makes on bass, like just in like practice sessions or playing stuff, like it's that whole like blues funk stuff coming through that like really lends itself quite well. Yeah, because like funk, like that blues funk stuff is like so like bass heavy, and so having that in the band really like we really noticed a big difference in practices.
A great foundation to build upon for sure.
So the song you're going to be performing for us today is called "Don't Tell Me." What's the influence behind the name?
It's a song that so I wrote a few years ago, basically about this girl. All these good songs are about girls. I was in a relationship with her for a while. There was like a lot of back and forth kind of stuff went through. So like the name Don't Tell Me, it's like don't tell me you want to run away. It was just about like friction in that relationship. Yeah.
So I guess the relationship's over now.
Yeah, thankfully. Yeah, I called an end to that one.
Don't name names. We don't name names. No name and shame.
Dave Tiller.
So, in the song, what when you guys are performing live, as you're gonna do for us, what are you guys listening to for each other? I mean, like for example, Tom, I know that you obviously you like to hear a lot of rhythm when you're playing, so I'm guessing you listen to quite a lot of the bass and plus rhythm guitar and such as you're going. What else? What are you listening to when you're performing with the band?
I tend to have quite a lot of the rhythm guitar because, like, especially for this song, I tend to follow the solo quite a bit, and like the main riff to the song is just so key to the whole thing. It's good to hear the whole thing and feel how kind of locked in you are with the whole thing. So it's kind of like a happy mix of everything, really.
What about the rest of you? I'll sit back up and say that. What about the rest of you?
I like to have a happy mix of everything, but mainly just Mr. Parker over here. Just like to lock in with the drums and just be as tight as possible.
Well, that's good when you've got a really tight rhythm section where you're able to work that way. Because I mean, we always talk about things like tech issues and such. If the monitors go down at a show or something like that, are you still able to perform? So you're locked in with that guy. So, I mean, you've not really got a choice with Tom on the drums, but
Best thing about drums, you're not plugged into anything, so as long as you can hear it, you're fine.
But yeah, me personally, I mean, when it comes to my mix, I don't really need a lot of drums because he's loud enough as it is, so it's not really necessary. Being a guitar player, I love listening to myself, so I've got a lot of myself in the wedge.
He's the only one who does.
Yeah, so that makes one of us in the room. So yeah, plenty of myself just so I can hear when I'm screwing up. And a lot of vocals, lead vocals as well. I like to keep track of lead vocals, partially for cues, and also partially just to keep myself in the right key when I'm doing backing vocals and such.
Yeah, I mean, as Dave said, kind of, I don't really tend to need too much of the drums, and similarly with the bass, because I always feel like those kind of bass frequencies cut through quite well, and obviously like because there's the three of us in front of the drum kit and I'm in the middle, I'm just right behind, like right in front of that kick drum, so that's typically quite good. Typically have some backing vocals, just so that I know when we're doing so there's some harmonies in the song and that we're going to perform, and it's just so that I know that we're both in sync. The main things that I need are for solos. I need to be able to hear the guitar. If the amp's off to one side of the stage, you get a lot of it through one, but you don't get it through the other. Also need quite a lot of my own vocals. It can be quite tricky. I like to use my high register quite a lot, and you find that in the midst of all kind of the bass frequencies, you can lose that. So having that come out the wedges is just key.
So with your guitar tones as well, if you're swapping lead and going around, have you guys got distinct sounds that you aim for? I mean, do you use each other to bounce off of when you're sound checking, or do you come in and like, that's my sound, you move around that, I'll be a wall today?
Well, I mean, me personally, I do have a sort of ballpark tone I go for. I do like a lot of mids, just to cut through, and a wee bit of a cut in the low end, just because you don't want to, the spectrum of the soundscape, the bass, kick drum, that occupies a lot of the low end. So I find I don't really need a lot of that in my tone. Like I said, a lot of mids to kind of cut through the mix as well, especially for leads, because we do kind of swap lead duties.
Well, that's really good if you're also giving that divide for the bass and such, because sometimes the sound overall can get quite muddy if you're hitting into the bass frequencies and such. So you can end up with quite a torture to the mix a wee bit, especially if you bleed over some of the areas.
Like the whole sonic space, you've got to occupy a certain region of that space. And being guitar players, the mids is like really where we sit, and it's really key to take advantage of that, because like I said, low end is kind of taken care of with these guys, so we can focus on the mids, especially like I said, because we swap lead duties, so mids is really key for that. So that's a kind of general rule that I go with, but at the same time I do like to adapt to the room, because obviously the room ambient sound can really play a big part in how your sound is, whatever amp you're playing through. So you need to be quite adaptive, but luckily I get a vast majority of my tone from my pedals, so I can adapt to virtually any kind of backline that we're given. So there's a lot of room for manoeuvre.
It's good you've got that versatility, and like you're saying, you've got a general tone you go for. You've got that ballpark area to start from to do it. So when you do that, do you work together when you're making your tones and such? I mean, do you kind of sit down, listen to the guitars and bass together, and make sure you've got that right kind of blend, or
no,
I
do nothing about this stuff. I just get him to like. I'm just like, yeah. See what you're done with your amp. Could you like come and like do mine?
Honesty is good. Honesty is the key.
It's pretty much a case of you'll sit waiting patiently for me to finish sorting out my tone. And he goes, Dave, can you come over and sort out my band? So
patiently is the operative word, but it's great, and like I find that you hear like quite a few horror stories about like bands that have two guitar players, and I don't think we've ever had a problem with that because we don't think of it in terms of like, oh, Dave's the lead player, I'm the rhythm player, or vice versa. And so like you'll notice that on the Facebook page, and we don't make that distinction. It's just guitar player. Because, as Dave mentioned, we swap solo duties, we swap rhythm duties, and that, for me, as a vocalist, is really freeing because it means that I can rely on Dave to be cutting through with those effects and really adding that other layer. And because he knows so much about this sort of stuff, and that's really not my forte. It means that I can go on stage and I can kind of do my stuff, and then I know that I have a great backline to fall onto. Like,
you can focus more on the vocals.
Exactly.
With more confidence that everything else is taken care of behind.
Yeah, exactly. There's almost this feeling that like even if my guitar shuts out, and I'm not able to play anything, like I've got this guy who's able to back me up, and I think it's that kind of lack of ego between us that makes it work really well.
Because I hope your guitar doesn't cut out today.
Stay tuned.
I mean, luckily, it's something to point out is, like I said, swapping lead, playing a lot of the time, and the advantage that we have, from my perspective, is that James and I have quite fairly similar styles, but very distinctive strengths and weaknesses. Like James really can do the whole shreddy, fast, Van Halen-y kind of thing. And I like to do more sort of atmospheric, quite slow, bendy solos and stuff like that. So,
guys, thank you so much again for coming in. Really looking forward to hearing the song. So, guys, once again, that's been Blackfyre Rising, and this is Don't Tell Me.
It's called tell me